Hi, everyone. My name is Erik Tolstoy. I'm the CBDO from Landrocker. We're a Dubai based metaverse company. Just as a little background of myself, I was born and raised in Canada, grew up in Ottawa, did my studies at University of Toronto in Toronto, and about 2 years ago, I moved to Dubai to work with this company, Landrocker, which I'm currently in right now. The question here we have is, why did you go into the gaming industry and what are you doing now? Gaming has been a huge part of my life since as long as I can remember. Some of the earliest great memories that I have from a childhood are surrounded by gaming. I've been gaming since then. And so gaming has always been a passion of mine. And when the opportunity presented itself for me to get into the industry and take a role as chief business development officer for a metaverse company, I had to take this opportunity and very happy for it. What we're doing with Landrocker, we are a metaverse platform which, first and foremost, is looking to make it as easy as possible and cost effective for Web2 brands to enter the metaverse. And we're looking also to solve many issues that exist in the market right now with the market leaders. I won't name any names, but we all know who are the market leaders right now. The current state of the metaverse market is not so strong, in my opinion. Um, there's very low engagement. We see all of the data in terms of monthly active users, and generally, the quality of the graphics, the experience, and the amount of interaction I can do inside the metaverse is lacking. So that was our goal with Landrocker, to kind of expand on this, fill in this gap, and really help businesses excel inside the metaverse. We've designed the concept around engage to earn. The purpose for this is because if I were to purchase a plot of land in an existing leading metaverse right now, there's nothing in the ecosystem that supports me as a brand, helps me get traffic, and helps me gain success from what I'm offering inside the metaverse. So, what we've designed is a system where our users, the player base, is rewarded for engaging with any of the third party content. This can include attending events, concerts, exhibitions. It could be playing games, making purchases, going to fashion shows. So, all of these interactions allow them to then kind of play the play to earn cycle, which allows them to earn money themselves. In my opinion, what will be the biggest challenges facing the gaming industry in the near future? So I do think, specifically speaking on blockchain games, and we've faced this throughout the last year in the bear market, it has been very difficult for new companies to emerge and get funding. And I think leading into 2023, we will face the same issue where it will be very difficult for up and coming companies to get the funding they need to really get off the ground. So that I think for the blockchain side will be the biggest issue that we face in the near future. What do I believe will be the most significant trend in the gaming industry in the next few years? There's a few. Definitely, esports is on the rise, especially in the region that I'm in. A lot of money is being put behind investing in esports. I think this will continue going in the upward direction. I think we'll continue to see more mobile games and more traction on mobile games. And also, I'm hoping that I see more blockchain integration in not just Web3 native games, but some kind of shift where these big studios do take that jump. And I'm hoping that the biggest trend we see from this is player asset ownership. For years and years, we've been all spending money in games, purchasing skins, purchasing different in game items that we don't have ownership of and we don't have the ability to sell those items. So I think this will be the biggest trend, that we will see that now this skin that I'm buying inside a game ecosystem, I can actually sell this to another player and recuperate at least some of the money that I put in. If not, if I'm lucky, even make some profit off of that. How do I see blockchain technology shaping the future of gaming? So there's a few categories here. Like I had just mentioned, obviously, this player asset ownership depends on blockchain technology and NFTs. So this is a huge component which will shape the future of gaming. Um, I I also think that it will build trust around a lot of these games that exist right now. Of course, we're all familiar with things like loot boxes or gotcha type mechanisms. And there's been more and more kind of regulation around these things in the last couple of years. Certain countries even banning it, or at least putting restrictions and forcing the traditional game companies to kind of be more upfront about this. But with blockchain, we are able to build a completely uh, trustful system that blocks any type of manipulation. So at the end of the day, I think blockchain helps protect players and build trust around how these game operators are distributing things within their games and operating on a grand scale. Do I think traditional gaming companies will be able to adapt to the challenges in the industry, or will we see new blockchain based companies taking over? So I do think we'll see a mix of both. In the short term, it will be new companies that are paving the way. Um, Obviously, the traditional gaming companies have a well oiled machine that works well, and they don't need to take the jump so soon into blockchain based technology. But I do think that as time passes over the next couple of years and we see more success and more desire from the player base to have these things like player asset ownership, that these traditional gaming companies will start incorporating more of this into their games. How do you see the future of the metaverse and the role of Landrocker in it? So, to me, the metaverse is a massive concept. To me, I think of it as really just an extension of what we already have in Web 2. I don't see it as something intimidating. There is this kind of misconception often where the metaverse is very expensive to get into. And obviously, we've faced a lot of, unfortunately, untrustworthy projects that have kind of sullied the name metaverse and blockchain and cryptocurrency as a whole. So with Landrocker, we're trying to kind of patch up some of this damage that has been done and continue to push the barriers of what is possible to be done inside the metaverse. Some of the things that we're doing for that is really, we decided very early on to make it as easy as possible for a user to come into the ecosystem without even needing to really understand that they are entering the metaverse. So a decision we made with Landrocker is that most of our services are available via web browser. So you're able to create an avatar and enter a 3D virtual space and interact with people and play games and do all of these things through a web browser. So to a traditional user, it's just like clicking a normal link, and they don't really need to be intimidated. Still, I do think the way that the whole ecosystem is set up is very intimidating. Even someone who's been in the industry for a number of years now, who's following quite deeply, there's many intimidating details around things like wallet creation and understanding different blockchains, layer one, layer two, all of these things. So our goal with Landrocker is trying to make this as easy as possible to lead towards mass adoption for the general public. Again, we're looking to really expand what is possible within the metaverse and continue to build new use cases that excite people. I think it's very important that we give the traditional gamers and traditional web users a real reason to come inside the metaverse. I've noticed a lot of companies who call themselves metaverse companies. They First off, they do very minimal kind of actual building. There's a lot of focus on the marketing aspect. So many of the companies that you'll see, they've spent a lot of money on marketing. They've created cinematic trailers, which at the end of the day, if you've been in the game industry for a long time, you know even the AAA studios do this, but the finished product never ends up looking like the cinematic trailers, and then they go out and try to seek funding. So we took a very different approach to this and decided to build the infrastructure first before pushing for marketing and before really kind of putting ourselves out there. We wanted to have all of the solutions in place so that when we do start growing and expanding, we're prepared for it. And this is why at Landrocker, we're able to offer really higher quality experiences, both graphically and in terms of interactions. We're able to build much faster than the competition and at a much lower price point. I'll give you a little anecdote, for example, because still there is a misconception that it is very expensive and very difficult to enter the metaverse. A couple months ago, we had a company approach us from the US. They have a small shop. Mostly it's an online shop that they were looking to kind of expand. Right now, they're only servicing the North American region, and they were looking to expand to the global market and use the metaverse as the tool to allow them to reach the global audience. And so we weren't the first company that they got in touch with. But I'll tell you, what they were asking for was quite simple, just to have a shop where someone could come in and create an order and have those items shipped to their physical address. And the quotes that they were getting were in the hundreds of thousands, and those were starting prices for mostly pre-built spaces without much customization other than, okay, you get to decide the color scheme and put your logo, but very, very simple. So this was intimidating to them. When they approached us, we were able to offer them exactly what they were looking for, with additional benefits, including things like mini games that they can have inside their shop, full integrated video and talk chat integrated inside web browser, and a number of other features that weren't being offered by the competition. And the price that we were quoting was in the low tens of thousands of dollars. So they were ecstatic to hear that it's possible to enter the metaverse. And this is something that we're very proud of at Landrocker, that we were able to build this infrastructure and build the knowledge base of the team to be able to do these things at a very low cost. I could talk for a long, long time about Landrocker, but I think that's enough for this question. We can jump to the next one. How do you see the trend of gamification and the use of mini games for brand engagement evolving in the next few years? So I think this will be a continuously growing trend for many reasons. Not just on a kind of a retail level, but for many different categories. For example, in the fields of education, and really creating more involved experiences through gamification. Um, I'll give you a couple examples for what we are doing right now with some of our partners. So one of the very big strengths of the metaverse and these 3D environments is we can do much better in areas that are have been really standardized for many, many years. So I'm sure all of you, when you've started a new job, you've gone through the onboarding process, you've done your health and safety, and you've done your training, and all of this is done in a um, mostly quiz-based kind of scenario. So what we're doing with some of our partners now is integrating all of that into the metaverse where, for example, a customer service agent can experience with their mentor or their manager guiding them a difficult situation, for example, where they're in the same physical environment they will be when they do join the workforce, and they're able to go through that experience verbally and in real time, which gives them a much better experience and translates to better future performance when it comes to actually dealing with a difficult customer like this in the future. Um, so many, many categories. In the field of education, for example, um, we saw during COVID, it was a very big shift, a very unfortunate shift where all of a sudden we had uh, thousands, millions of students who were studying from home through Zoom. And this is very difficult on the professors who mostly were not technologically inclined to begin with. And to keep the students engaged, having these types of mini games and gamification in the learning not only keeps them engaged, it also creates a more valuable memory for that student. If they're enjoying that learning experience, then this will stick with them and it will translate to long-term memory much better than had they just done some paperwork in the classroom, for example. I'll give you another example. We have a partnership with the number one rated university in the UAE, University of Sharjah, and one of the things we're looking to do with them is create modules for education that are gamified for many different streams within their programs. I'll give you one example for, let's say, the health sciences stream. So typically, it's something that you experience only at the late stages of your studies. Maybe it's in the fourth year or even later that you get to experience, for example, getting hands-on with a cadaver and doing a dissection, kind of getting to see what is really going on inside there. So all of this can be gamified and brought inside a metaverse environment where not only does this mean that people in these streams are able to experience these things at a much earlier stage. You could have, for example, a first year student get to do this and kind of keep some of this knowledge as they're going through the program before they get to the live cadaver, for example. But it also helps for reducing costs immensely for these institutions, where this is now modules that once it's built, it really, other than some small maintenance and hosting costs, can be run continuously and multiple times. So at the end of the day, it leads to a lot of cost savings for these institutions. So definitely, I think gamification we will see more and more in almost every industry that offers anything on the web. How do you envision the integration of the real world and the virtual world through AR, VR, and NFTs gaming? So this one, I have, I guess, a few points I'd like to make on this. Definitely, again, through the metaverse, it's the perfect kind of platform to enable people to do something that they would normally do in the real world from the comfort of their own home through virtual reality or uh, through their PC even. I'll give you an example. We entered a competition earlier this year with Emirates MBD, who was looking for a metaverse partner who could create a virtual branch where um, users, their customers, could go inside that virtual branch, and instead of interacting with their existing application or interacting with their website, they're able to experience everything in 3D and get a much better kind of exposure to all of the information instead of having things hidden in sub menus and making things very difficult to find. We're leveraging that 3D space in the virtual world to create better experiences. And the interactions that they're doing inside the virtual world are directly interacting with what's happening in the real world. So, in the case of banking, they're able to pay their bills or take out a loan or talk to a consultant. Many kind of uh, different opportunities that this brings in. You're able to order your food from Uber Eats or Talabat or something like this through the virtual world. Many opportunities there. I want to touch on AR because I do think AR will be something that we see a lot over the next few years. I think we're not quite there yet in terms of the hardware and the wearable technology, but now there is much more funding that's coming behind this, and I think we will get to a level where it's much more commonplace that your average consumer does own a VR headset or some type of AR device. One of the things I think that is important is that we make it more cost effective and also more smaller at the end of the day, more comfortable, something like a pair of glasses, where it's not something intrusive to put on my body. That also, I'm not sure how much time you spent, for example, in VR platform like Oculus. It's still not kind of optimized for long-term sessions. So this will improve over time, and I do see in the future, I can't give you an estimate on the number of years, but I would love to see in the future AR pair of sunglasses where just walking through the real world, I'm getting additional information about maybe the people around me or the places. Let's say I walk past a restaurant, I can experience the menu through this AR level without ever having to actually physically go into that space and interact with it. So on many levels, I do think that uh, we'll see more and more kind of tie-ins between what's happening in the real world and the virtual world. I'll give you one example of one thing we're working on as well with the University of Sharjah. They're building a very high tech laboratory with all of the latest technologies, including 3D printers and all of the likes. So one of the things they're looking to do is to integrate VR into this, where, for example, a student from their dorm room can go to the 3D printer, for example, inside this tech lab and download the file that they're looking to have printed and have the printer start printing this file. And then actually access as well through VR a live camera feed so they can see the progress of this printing as it's being done. They can see if there's any errors and follow this without ever having to actually visit the physical space. How do you think the increasing popularity of esports will affect the development and success of casual games? So again, I think esports is a huge industry, not just on the player side. Obviously, many of the younger generation have aspirations to get into the esports stream and look at this as an opportunity, potentially as a career. So they're pushing their skills and trying to compete on a higher level. Um, but also they, platforms like YouTube and Twitch, their viewers, this is a huge platform where it brings almost at the same level as professional sports now. You have as a source of entertainment. So I think that definitely we will continue seeing more games created in this sense. Now, not all casual games will fit into the esports category. So I do think we will have the parallel. We'll of course have the still very casual games like Candy Crush or something that isn't a social game. It's not a competitive game. It's something that I do on my own time. And then you'll have on the other side the very competitive games where you have leaderboards, you have competitions, you have prize pools, you have sponsors. So I definitely think that this is a very fast growing industry, and esports is a very important component of the money that's coming in to fund the continued development of these new games, these new platforms. What advice do you have for new game developers and founders looking to enter the industry and succeed in the long term? So I would say, firstly, um, be smart about how you're spending your money. We don't know exactly when this bear market will end. Again, a lot of companies that I see spend a lot of money on marketing, and they grow their name, they grow their reputation. But if you don't have that product to back it up, this means nothing. So for me, I would recommend that you focus first on developing, at the very minimum, your MVP, and invest the majority of the funds that you do have available towards actually building the product, because at the end of the day, that is what is most important. Um, Also, for startup companies, be very kind of conscious of how, first, who you're bringing in, what the experiences are, and try to control your expenses in the early stages. Many startup companies unfortunately do not end up being successful because they don't have the kind of financial literacy to manage the money within the company. So when you get your first seed funding or angel round, or whatever it is, you see a lot of these companies go out and start hiring uh, these industry experts at very high salaries. And this makes your runway shorter and shorter and shorter. So my main kind of word of advice is just be conscious about how sustainable you are with the money that you have, considering that maybe it will be a while before you get any future funding, and plan around this accordingly. Don't kind of uh, accelerate things too quickly to a point where if we do see another kind of crash in the industry, now all of a sudden you have these huge financial commitments monthly, which will uh, very quickly destroy new companies. And as well, don't don't portray these photorealistic games that I get it. I get you want to excite people. I get you want people to look at your product and say, "Wow, this is amazing." But spending money on that trailer is only good really in the short term. If you don't follow it up with a quality product, you're really kind of shooting yourself in the foot. And so I would say set realistic expectations for your community. Be open with your community, communicate with them, give them regular updates, be transparent, and I wish you the best of luck.